Hello everyone! With the recent release of Stick Sumo to the masses, I thought I'd make a different kind of video today and rank every single item, and since the algorithm is what it is, we're doing it in a tier list. We're going to be ranking these on 1, their usefulness in game, 2, their usefulness in relation to their level cost is the little number next to it, which is how much you spend to obtain the item in the item shop, and 3, their unlock method. That will contribute a little less, but it's still worth a little bit. So, let's start with the 5 base items that start unlocked. I will not be counting their unlock methods into my ranking of them here, but it might impact a little bit. So, the Knockback Stick, the OG, the first item ever conceived for Stick Sumo, S tier. There's no doubt about it. The Knockback Stick, along with the Rock of Doom, they're the 2 items you build your build around. You're either a knockback build or you're a damage build, with some overlap or some outlier in between. But aside from edge cases, you're either using one of these 2. Unless you're a Trident build, but we'll get to that later. I'm only ranking the Knockback Stick above the Rock of Doom because it was there first, and I'm biased. Plus, it's what the name's gamed after. But yeah, they're the 2 core pillars of Stick Sumo. The Brittle Bow and Arrow, for its cost, it is pretty good, but I'm going to have to stick it in B tier. A ranged option is great to have, but 1, I believe there's better options out there, and 2, for a base item, sure, it is supposed to be basic, but it's just... I don't see many people buying it outside of maybe Glass Tightrope. The Single Blast Chestplate, I'm going to have to rank as a solid A tier. There are other options, but it is incredibly useful, even at its 36 level price, making it, I believe, no. It is one of the most expensive items in the game, but it still can tank even a TNT blast. So it is incredibly useful, but you're not going to be using it every single time because it is so expensive. The boot shoes, B tier, but above the Brittle Bow. The boot shoes are an addendum to a build. You'll see this as a recurring pattern later on, but the boot shoes are essentially something you would tack on to have that little extra utility at the end. Once you bought all your big stuff, you're going to do this. That is the 5 base items, so now we're going to be getting in the real meat of the tier list. Locator Compass got its own tier. It only costs 2 levels, but you spawn with one. You will always have a Locator Compass, so there is no reason anyone would ever buy this. The fishing rod. Now, it is not a very good item, but it is the only item that is outside of the item shop, and it's a solid A tier, because it only costs 1 level, but you're getting so much out of that 1 level. You can hook someone, bring them near, you can use it as a pinch, as a weapon in a pinch, you can do anything with it. Not very well, mind you, but you can do anything with it. I see a lot of people, when they're done buying, they just grab a couple fishing rods. Still better than a Locator Compass. Obedience, unlocked at Grassland Wall. I did not put a level next to this one, but it costs 23 levels, and it is A tier. Possibly better than the Single Blast. The unlock method is a little bit iffy. A lot of earlier arenas will simply have a button that lets you buy the item in the arena for a discounted price. This is one of those. Obedience is amazing for defense, as being a shield would imply. It has 6 hearts of health, so it can tank a lot for you before it breaks, unlike the Single Blast, which, as the name implies, can only tank a single blast. There's not really much else to say. It's a lot cheaper than the Single Blast at 23 levels, so you're going to be buying it a lot more builds, but who knows? You might want the Single Blast anyway. Flight in a Bottle. It's a solid B tier. The Flight in a Bottle is unlocked at Hollow Skyscraper and is another button unlock. It is incredibly useful as a movement tool, but there are better movement tools that we'll get to later. If you're looking for vertical movement, though, unless it's at a water map where the Trident would be able to fling you upward, it would be absolutely amazing to just get out of reach of your opponent. It can lead to some campy scenarios, but eventually those will have to end. So, B tier it goes. Fireball. I'm gonna say C tier. Fireball is a very cheap item, only 10 levels, unlocked at Glass Tightrope with yet another button unlock, but it doesn't really do much, especially with its recent nerf where it goes up and then it just sort of fizzles out 2 seconds later. You can't use it to have long-term pressure. You have to throw it or it's gone. I don't know. Shut up. So it isn't really what it used to be. Not that it used to be much. Right now, it is one of those addendum things where if you have 10 levels instead of 11, you might consider buying Fireball, because it might not be worth Dragon's Breathing to get that extra level for the boots. But, as it stands, C tier. Soul Lantern. That's a solid A. For 17 levels unlocked at Soulfire Bridge, you just step into the Soulfire and you become a beast. Invisibility, the scare tactics, the element of surprise. This item is one of my favorites in the game. I've coined my own build with it, the coward maxing build, where you just buy as many of these as you can, and when you walk into someone, they take fire damage. If you can hit all 4 ticks of fire damage before it runs out for all of your lanterns, you can kill someone with just the fire damage. It isn't really worth it, because you're spending your entire build for that one kill, and it's not even guaranteed, but it's so fun that I just can't help it. As it stands for 17 levels, though, that utility is amazing. Ice Path Crystal, S tier. The best movement item in the game. It's not quite pillar tier here, but Ice Path is, especially because it recently got a buff to its duration, so it lasts a lot longer now. Even with its radius nerf, it is insane the amount of mobility you can get with this thing. On maps like Fractured Facility, so many alternate routes are open with this. You can take the window to the watchtower, you can... I have yet to test if you can get back up to the first layer on Pastry Platform, but I'll put that on screen. It is insane what you can do with this. Maybe I'm just biased, maybe I'm gushing about it, but Ice Path Crystal, S tier. Lifeforce Petals. I'm gonna go C tier. Above Fireball, but I said above fire. Above it. There. Unlocked at Crying Oak by stepping on one of those little... Oh yeah, I didn't say it for Ice Path Crystal. Hydro Disc, middle Hydro Disc. Fun. Lifeforce Petals, there's the Amethyst platforms on Crying Oak where you can step on them and you unlock the item. This is one of 2 healing items in the game, not counting Violet Powder, but I am gonna say it's the worst one. You get a few passive buffs from it, you get the speed, you get the jump, but you don't get that much healing. You get about 1.5 hearts of healing if I'm not mistaken, but that just has nothing on Life in a Bottle. It's not that this is a bad item. Before Life in a Bottle existed, this was, well, because it was the only healing item, but it was the best healing item. But it just doesn't hold a candle to it. There's nothing else to be said, I'm sorry. Alright, TNT. Unlocked in Copperwood Tracks by going down the well. This one's a fun one. It's like D tier. You're not gonna do much with this, but it is so fun. It is a joke item. You can buy 2 of these, and you will kill someone. It is a suicide bomb tactic, but if you're in a 1v1 scenario, you will always die first, meaning you will always lose. In a free-for-all 3v3 or 4v4 scenario, you can take one person out, but you will never win if you suicide bomb with TNT. And if you're only playing one TNT, you're going to want to buy Single Blast so you're not hit as much by it. But that's going to drain you of most of your money, so you can only buy some utility at most. It is so fun, but I am sorry, it is so bad. Ancient Trident. S tier. I'm going to put it above Ice Path. It is on par with the Rock of Doom in a lot of scenarios. Especially in combination with the Crown. That increase in attack speed. The Ancient Trident does about double the Rock of Doom. You can only get 4 hits in with it, but those hits pack a punch. You will always get a lot out of the Ancient Trident. If you're playing in rainy weather, or if you're playing on a water map, you also get insane movement because it has Riptide on it. On Crying Oak, you can get up top of the tree. I'm trying to think of some other places for it. On Guardian Shrine, you can get up to those little walls on top. I can't think of many in the moment, but Ancient Trident, trust me, S tier. Especially for the price, on par with Rock of Doom. It's on a map-by-map basis. You're probably going to want to lean on Rock a little more often, but Ancient Trident is... Ooh, it is good. Alright, Rift Shears. B tier. Above the Brittle Bow. I'm thinking about moving this down to C tier, but we'll keep it there for now. Unlocked at Teleportation Station by going through the teleporter. You drop this, you take damage, it teleports you back there. It's not the most complicated thing in the world, but it is fun. It is sometimes really useful on bigger maps like Fractured Facility or Copperwood Tracks. It can really throw off your opponents. You do give off the little particle effect that shows you are rifting, but if your opponent doesn't see that, like at the bottom of the well on Copperwood Tracks where the water's all flowing, you can easily bamboozle an opponent and just get them trapped at the bottom of the well where you can just camp them out. You can set up some really interesting scenarios with that. So, it's not the best, it's not the worst, B tier. Mirror Fragment. The first cursed item. I'm going to put this... Ooh. This one's a hard one. I'm gonna put it at the top of B. For 32 levels, and keep in mind, a cursed item will drain your levels the longer you use it. And it will drain you faster the less levels you have, so you're gonna want a lot of levels going into your match. But the Mirror Fragment, it's a good cursed item. The more damage you do with it, it's a snowball item. The more damage you do with it, the more buffs you get. You get resistance, strength, you get speed. It is a very powerful item when used effectively, but if you don't use it effectively, you're toast. Because not only are you just a normal wimp, you also have less items. You don't have as much to defend yourself with. You're going to want to buy Mirror Fragment and then maybe a Rock or a Trident. You're not going to be buying a full build with this. So, top of B, it's a very high skill weapon. Acid in a Bottle. Unlocked, Mirror Fragment, you unlock an Ice Mirror. It's another button unlock. Meh. But Acid in a Bottle, it's yet another button unlock in the sewers. I'm gonna put it in D tier, below TNT. I'm sorry, but there is not much you can do with this. It is a lingering potion of poison. Unless you've already trapped your opponent and are just getting that more and more damage on them, especially for 30 levels. 30 levels! Ooh. It doesn't really do much. I believe it can get about 4 to 6 hearts of damage. Editor, correct me if I'm wrong. Extra, the Acid in a Bottle is actually very, very powerful. Look at this. It got buffed. A lot. It is not just a lingering potion of poison. You are going to get much, much value out of this. This is a solid B tier. I'll put an updated tier list at the end. Back to the normal video. Permafrost Snowball. A tier. For 13 levels, that snowball, you can't actually throw it at your opponent. I think it's weird because of coding shenanigans, but it does it does a crap ton of damage. It gives your opponent slowness. It is the perfect entry tool. You're going to want to, I'm gonna move it above Soul Lantern because you're going to want to buy this on. This is your utility item right here. This is, if you have 13 levels, you're buying Snowball. Because, especially on damage builds, wanting to close that gap is crucial to getting as much damage as possible. And even on knockback builds, you're gonna make sure that they don't get inside of the map before you can knock them off the edge. Life in a Bottle. Top of A tier. Probably, no, I'm gonna put it above Fishing Rod. Not top, about the middle of A tier. 24 levels. Same as Lifeforce Petals, and it is definitely more of a commitment because you get 2 bottles of life, you have to drink both of them in one sitting or else you get nothing. But if you drink that, you get half your health back. That is so much survivability that it renders the Lifeforce Petals, it's like a heart and a half. It's completely useless. There's nothing in the world that can out-survive Life in a Bottle. If you're buying healing, you're buying life. You get it at Spleef Showdown for breaking the green wool, where you can get like a ton of these, by the way. Spleef Showdown is life central. Crown of the Abyss. B tier. You unlock it at Abyssal Ravine by finding it in a chest. What it does is it gives you slowness, but it increases your attack speed. It's only really useful with Trident, because these two don't really have attack speed penalties. The Trident is the only one that really makes you focus on hitting your shots, and hitting them well. The Crown of the Abyss for 22 levels is the combo item to Trident, which I believe is intentional because they're the 2 water-themed items in the game. But for its price, it's pretty good, but it's situational at best. Static Mind. Putting it above Snowball, because for 6 levels, you get area denial galore. Stand in front of a static mine too long, and you get struck by lightning, and you take a boatload of damage. For 6 levels, if you have a single-digit number of levels, you're most likely buying static mine, because this is the only addendum item that I would warrant it is worth it to Dragon's Breath and take that damage to purchase static mine. Because having just one of those means you have leverage over your opponent like nothing else. A tier. Unlocked in Comet Capsule by going above. Silverfish Nest. This one is a fun one. The only summoning item in Stick Sumo so far. I'm going to put this in A tier. I'm going to put it below Static Mine though. For 34 levels, you can only actually buy 2 of these. But for those 34 levels, you're getting a lot of value. If you drop this, it summons 4 Silverfish to infest your opponent and deal a lot of chip damage and knock them back. Now, these Silverfish will not attack you unless your opponent drops a Silverfish Nest of their own. And at which point, all 8 of those Silverfish will come right towards you. It's like stacking draw 2s in Uno. They could, your opponent could play another draw 2 and send +4 right at you. But if your opponent did not buy Silverfish Nest, you essentially win that encounter. They are forced to flee, or they are forced to deal with 4 silverfish and you at the same time. They can kill those silverfish quite easily, but then they still have you to contend with. And they just wasted a lot of time and energy killing those silverfish, giving you the opportunity to prepare whatever you want. A tier. Violet powder. I'm gonna say top of C tier. Violet powder costs a lot and is another cursed item, but is something that I think is really fun as a gimmick build with that, even alone, or maybe with a static mine or something. What Violet Powder does is, as long as you have it in your offhand, you have infinite potions on a cycle. Depending on the color of the potion, you're going to get something different. You can memorize the cycle, but first-time users aren't going to get much out of it, because you could just as easily be hurling a harming potion at your opponent as a instant health potion. You could be giving them poison, or you could be giving them speed. But if you can learn to throw the positive ones at yourself and the negative ones at your enemy, you are now the master of that encounter. Rose powder. Oh wait, not rose powder yet, violet powder. You unlock this in the lobby by reading the credits. Rose powder. It is about on the same level as violet powder, and I'm actually going to give rose powder the edge. While it is more expensive, and it is the most expensive cursed item of all, it also gives you the best benefit of any cursed item. You're not going to be buying much else with it, but what you are getting with it is practical invincibility for as long as it is in your offhand. You get resistance out the wazoo, and 2 extra absorption hearts. So you are getting, like, you are becoming practically immortal for a limited time. For about half your levels. So it's still going to be worth it much more in a lot of other situations to go for any of the items above it, but as it stands, rose powder is still decent. Enhanced fishing rod. B tier. I'm gonna put it above these two though. Enhanced fishing rod costs 21 levels, which is about 3 more than the knockback stick, and I'm comparing it to it in this way because enhanced fishing rod has knockback. It is a fishing rod that you can use infinitely, unlike the 1 durability fishing rod that costs 1 level, but you also get knockback out of it. Sometimes you are going to want to buy a knockback stick and 2 fishing rods if you aren't really fish maxing enough. But enhanced fishing rod will give you infinite fish. Give a man a fishing rod, it'll feed him for a day. Give a man an enhanced fishing rod, it'll feed him for a lifetime. Now, you're not gonna be actually fishing with this. You're gonna be pulling your opponents, but it serves the same purpose. It provides that pressure on a much larger scale. So sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. That is up for you to decide. And now for Dragon's Breath. A tier. This is also a cursed item, but in a different way to all the others. All the other cursed items drain your levels while you use them. The Dragon's Breath, every time you drink a bottle, it takes a heart away from you and then gives you 2 levels. Now keep in mind, this costs 4 levels. So you're going to need to take at least 3 hearts of damage to get any use out of it. But those couple extra levels can put you over a lot of thresholds. You can buy an extra static mine in a lot of cases. You can buy 3 Silverfish Nests. You can buy 6 Soul Lanterns. But even on larger scales, you could sometimes buy more life in a bottle, which means you can heal that damage back. But you can't actually... The lobby will normally heal you up to full, but Dragon's Breath damage will not be healed back. But life in a bottle, once you're in there, you can drink and you can still heal that back. But it will still be a net loss. If you're buying life in a bottle because of Dragon's Breath, that's a bad idea because 4 levels and 24 levels. That's a big difference. Sorry, I forgot an item. This is the Cursed Pumpkin. It is unlocked in the lobby by activating Horror Mode in the settings, which is just a fun little side mode. It's D tier. I'm sorry, you can't see a thing. You have so much slowness. You have so much negative. But you do deal more damage. You become this lumbering tank that you're a really slow cannon. But it isn't really something that you're going to be using a lot. But that is my tier list of every Stick Sumo item. If you want to check out the full game, links in the description, go to the Discord server, join the realm. There's also a world download available, and I will see you in the next one.